Welcome to Elevate Massage Heights podcast. Today we're in San Antonio, Texas, where our Franchise Advisory Council, otherwise known as the Team Council, is meeting, talking about strategies for 2019 and beyond. I am happy to be able to take a little time today out with one of our strategic partners, one of our top performers, multi-award winner, Theresa Castro.
Hi.
Welcome, Theresa.
Thank you.
So we're just going to spend just a few minutes just talking about sort of your strategies for success, any tips that you have for any of our strategic partners that might help them better their business, and even maybe a little get to know you kind of things if we've got a little time. So Theresa, you are one of our most engaged strategic partners. You're involved in an advisory capacity as an extension of our Franchise Advisory Council or Team Council, serving on the marketing committee as well as the retail committee. What is it that drives you to get involved in the way that you are?
Well, as you mentioned, I am very engaged in the business itself. And because of that, I want to make a difference. I want to continue to make this brand grow. I want to make it better. And, being involved allows me that opportunity to see where we can grow, where those opportunities are, and to be able to discuss that. So it's, in some ways kind of for my own selfish interest that, I want it better, but I know that when I'm on these committees, I always think about things globally and how can I make a difference for all.
Well, we appreciate that, and it is strategic partners like you and your time that does make the brand better as a whole. So we appreciate that so much. So we are filming from the Team Council meeting today, as mentioned. What is a takeaway that you're hoping for? If one thing comes out of this meeting, what would that be for you?
For one particular thing, for me, is just kind of seeing what the overall plan is for 2019 and 2020, and being involved, allowing that opportunity for input and feedback. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'm looking to take away from this meeting.
Yeah, just overall vision, what's to come, and being able to contribute to that in some way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you feel like so far the meeting has been, productive? How do you feel about how things have gone? Well, we've been in it for a day and a half at this point. So
yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that it's productive. I think that each meeting that we have in terms of Team Council, since I've been on Team Council, I think it keeps getting better and better. And I think that there is a better forum for more feedback and collection of kind of what the SPs are wanting, and I think that's really where good change is going to come forward.
Yeah,
I think that's really good.
Absolutely. It's that two-way communication, right? And so I think one of the big things that we have to work on is ensuring that what we do here gets out to our constituents, right? And then back in, so that we've got that two-way communication and get more people familiar with what the initiatives are, as well as giving that feedback from the field and kind of what they're seeing so that we can improve. What do you consider your greatest strength as a strategic partner? And I have my own idea of what that is, but I would like to hear yours, and I'll give you mine afterwards.
Perfect. There are a lot of things that I feel like I do well, but I think the single driving factor that ties into everything else is passion. Like when I wake up in the morning, like I'm awake, I'm excited to be alive, I'm excited to have opportunities to be in my business, to make a difference in people's lives, and passion goes through everything. And for me, I think that would probably be, if I had to have one word, that would be that one word, is passion.
So is that your value?
I would actually say that
Favorite?
my favorite value is authentic. So passion is what drives me, but it's being authentic and really, not listening just with your ears, but listening with your heart. And I think that that makes the biggest difference. And I think that's one of the things that my employees love about me, because, when I am there, I know every single one of them by name. I can, tell you things about, about them and their lives, and it's being real. And, every day that when I'm in the retreat, I'm like this. I'm in jeans and I keep it real, and they appreciate that. Talk to customers. I'm not, some, highfalutin kind of person they're like, oh, that we can't talk to. And so everyone feels that authenticity. And like I said, that's the part that I guess combined with the passion and the authenticity, that's kind of the magic.
Well, I would agree completely. Obviously, your self-assessment of yourself is right on. But I would say, what I was going to say about you is that what makes you successful is that you are super driven, and that comes from passion. And so those correlate, right? And then the other thing I would say is that you've always been very candid, and that's the authenticity. And so that's what I really appreciate about you, and what I know is really what drives the success that you're having. So we're in line. We know you well. We know you well.
Yes.
So do you have any aha moments? A time that you remembered where the business just kind of clicked for you, or how to make it work just clicked?
I have an aha moment that I remember clear as day, and it was I had a manager who had created a process that I still do to this day, which is creating a therapist, if you will, in at the time it was Millennium, but now it's Noti, that is on the books, where you can add block times that specifically captured missed appointments. And what happened is that, so we were using the turnaways, I think is what it was called in Millennium. And, and sometimes, LCs would do it, sometimes they wouldn't do it. You couldn't tell if they had captured or not. But the thing is with those block times, you could immediately see that if they turned away a customer, hey, wait, where's my block time? And so it allowed those LCs to get into this really good habit of recording the information. So what happened was, at the end of the month, it was, well, you've had this many missed opportunities, you missed this much money. Wait a minute, what? And so then that turned into hiring practices and being able to target people specifically for shifts. So for instance, if those missed opportunities were, all on, Thursday PM shift, well then, for the past 4 weeks, we could immediately say, hey, that's a shift right there. And that's something that we do as a recruiting tool, to be able to show a hiring therapist, say, hey, look, let me show you the past 4 weeks for the shifts that I'm trying to get you to take, and all the business that we've turned away. This is a ready-made shift.
That's awesome.
You've got customers that'll be, on your schedule. And so it works for recruiting, it works for filling where the needs are. And I mean, that was a dramatic game changer after that, because like I said, we were really able to specifically hire for exactly what we needed.
So you have a column,
Yes.
just like you would have a therapist's name in there.
Yes.
Called
So
therapist turnaway?
no,
or
it's called missed opportunities.
Oh,
But
missed
that's-
opportunities.
So missed first
Okay.
name, last name
Okay,
opportunities.
but it shows up as if it were a therapist, and
Yes.
then you just put a person in there every time? Or?
Yes. So there's actually a block time for Zenoti that actually is labeled as missed appointment.
Okay, got
So
it.
it's called missed appointment, and then they detail all of the information. So then that way I know how to hire.
Okay.
So it was it a female? Like what do they know? Was it an hour?
Got
was
it.
it 90 minutes? Was it couples? Whatever information they can capture, so that when I'm hiring, I can say, oh, you know what? I need to find someone who can do lymphatic drainage.
Okay.
I need to find someone who's a female. I
Right.
need to. So it also lets me know what those needs are as
Okay,
well.
got it.
So
Based
they
on
don't just
requests.
put the block. They've got to put what information that the customer had told them.
Makes sense. So then you're using that, as you said, for a recruiting tool. So if you've got somebody that you're interviewing for a job, or even an existing therapist that you have on staff, you can say, hey, if you work this shift,
Yes.
you can pick up 4 to 6 more sessions per day, or on this particular day, or what have you.
Absolutely.
Got it. That makes so much sense, and is super, super, super smart. And I'm sure was really, again, that aha moment when you start putting the revenue to each one of those hours and the revenue lost.
Yes.
The average therapist in Massage Heights generates about $6,000, $6,500 a month of revenue. So when you think if you're short 5 therapists, that's over $30,000 a month in revenue. It's a lot. And I don't necessarily think that everybody kind of thinks that way, and they certainly don't know what they're losing if they're not tracking it the way that you are, or some way, right?
Yes.
So that's a great tip.
That's a tool I still use to this day.
That's a good one. Do you have any advice for a brand new Massage Heights strategic partner? I mean, other than that, that's like really, really, really good. Focusing on people scheduling, that's probably the number one priority, right?
Yes.
But if there's anything else that you remember as a new strategic partner that you maybe didn't you didn't have the clarity right in the beginning, or you wish that somebody had been more forceful in what they taught you, or is there anything that you would go back and say, gosh, we could have done that better, we could have done that better, or that you could have done better?
I feel like the preparatory stages, I had gotten a lot of information from other strategic partners leading up to it, so I felt well prepared. The thing that I would give advice to someone who is new is you have to get out there and do grassroots efforts. So while that building is being constructed, you've got to go to the gyms and do chair massages and chair events. You have to get out there in the community, because that is how your name is known. And so you're going to get all that traffic if you've already been doing these events.
Yeah.
And so to me, it would be the advice I'd give to anybody who's brand new. You have to do those grassroots efforts.
Were you able to, by doing those things, first of all, when did you start? Do you recall when you started doing those things, about how far out?
Probably about 2 months.
About 2 months before opening.
But as far as actually doing the events, now they were being scheduled beforehand,
Sure.
Going to chiropractic offices and yoga studios, and just really starting to build those relationships and setting up those times so that they approached the opening dates.
And then when you opened, did you already have appointments on the book?
We did.
For a week or 2 weeks, or
We did.
yeah. So, and all really from those efforts,
Yes.
right? Generated them.
And what was helpful too was that the therapists that were going with me to do this, these customers then already knew who to see.
So it's helping build their business as well at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes.
So they already had people requesting them, which is great. That's really, really smart. I think it's one of the big focuses for us right now, is how do we get back to getting retreats to have that 300 members in that first 90 days, and ultimately they would have 100 or 200 even before they open, so that you open up with guests already on the book. Your therapists are happy because they're working, they're doing massages, and then obviously those people are going to refer more people to us. So that's smart advice. So just tell me about one process or habit that you or your team does every day routinely that you think is a big driver of success.
I would say one of the things that we do on a daily basis is really valuing the receipt of massage therapists being interested as far as an applicant. So let's say an application, a resume comes in, a phone call, it's jumping on that opportunity. So many times, I hear that massage therapists, they're out, putting their resumes and applications to different places. And sometimes some of these places make them wait a week, 2 weeks before they even have an initial contact. And pretty much, and all my staff knows, the rule of thumb is that as soon as they get that information, they either need to call me, email me, text me, so that I can make contact with that therapist within 2, 3, 4 hours of getting that information. Because if you don't jump on that therapist, they will get a job. And then once I make that initial contact, I try to see them within 48 hours. And so by doing that, we never have a problem having enough therapists.
That is great advice. So you, as the owner-operator, are that single point of contact with every single applicant that comes in. No one else is contacting them.
As far as massage therapists,
yes,
I'm the single contact.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes.
So if you were, and I know you have multiple retreats, so you're doing that for both of them.
Yes.
That's your number one priority.
Yes.
It sounds like that is your number one job.
It's your moneymaker. It's your moneymaker.
Yeah.
And why would you let anyone else do that? It's kind of the way that I look at that, because number one, I'm assessing quality. I'm assessing longevity. I'm looking at what kind of talent are they bringing. Do they possess the values that we want in our team? Because sometimes there's some people, they're just poisonous, and we don't need that. Like, no matter how desperate we might be for a therapist in a particular moment, if they're not a good fit and they don't have our values, then they can go work somewhere else. And but yes, in meeting with them, and it is also important to the therapist. I have
culturally, that's so important.
It is, because I now have a bond with every single person. They know me, they literally have touched me. And, you know, and so that is, I think, such an important part in terms of the development of that relationship, because they never feel afraid to come talk to me. There's times where, let's say, if maybe they have a concern with the management and maybe felt that their issue was not addressed, they come and they talk to me and say, hey, how can I handle this situation? And feel perfectly comfortable. Whereas I don't think if I had that touch point, that level of comfort would be there.
Sure. Yeah, they say you have to recruit therapists in general and people in general today. But I mean, our product is art therapists. It's massage therapy, and so we need people to perform that service. That you have to recruit, like you're recruiting for, you know, a SEC football team, because it's that important.
Yes.
And there's options, right? There's options in almost every industry today, but certainly our industry is gotten more competitive, and therapists have more options than they ever have, right? As far as employment goes. So they want to make sure that they're working for someone that really, really cares. And so that connection is really important. What advice would you give to an operator, an owner who has an operator in place that is not themselves? They've appointed a retreat director, whether they've got equity in the company or not. What would you tell them about that recruiting piece if they're not doing it themselves?
That they would still need to have that kind of that same level of accountability and responsibility, that, you know, that the therapist, if someone's applying, they have to have that kind of reactionary time. Otherwise, you're going to lose your candidates. And so I would just say holding them accountable to that piece.
Yeah.
In terms of timeliness.
Got it. Whatever it is, it's got to be one person, and they've got to be on it.
Yes.
They've got to be on it.
I mean, because if it's that important, like, you have to treat it as it's important, not, oh, I'll get to it next week.
Right.
And no, this is, you need to fill those positions, and every minute means that they could have already gotten a job somewhere else.
Absolutely. That is probably the best advice I've heard in a while, no doubt about it. We talked about the RD playbook earlier. You use it. Tell me a little bit about that, and what tools in the RD playbook do you find valuable? I know you've got a funny story to share. If you want to share that story, that'd be great. But like, what aspects of the RD playbook do you think are the most valuable pieces?
So for me, like I said, we definitely use the RD playbook. We used the Red Book before it was the RD playbook. Absolutely love it. I think that, to me, the best aspect of it is that it's a portal, it's a place where everybody comes together to see where that information is. And, you know, and I love the fact that, you know, I see my LCs, the first thing they do when they come in is go straight to the Red Book. And, you know, what do I need to know? What's going on? What have I been assigned? And I think that's probably the part that I love the most, is that it gives guidance and direction, that a manager doesn't have to be there at that exact moment where they walk in the door, and then a manager can catch up with them, but they've already started getting their day started. And so that's the part that I love, is that it's just central communication.
Central.
And the funny story is, when we had taken over the River Oaks location, my staff had gone over, my Midtown staff had gone over to River Oaks the day that we're supposed to, you know, now own the location and operate it. And so my staff was looking for Red Book. They couldn't find Red Book anywhere, and
they
so
love the Red Book. So they were looking for the Red Book.
They were devastated.
Where's the Red Book?
They were so devastated about it. So they called the folks at Midtown, had them copy out the next week, just so that while, you know, we were contacting the Red Book company and saying, hey, we need a new one, but obviously there's going to be a delay in shipping. But they copied it. They didn't have legal size paper, so they're having to tape together the two 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and then staple the edges to create, you know, kind of a bounding to it. And I mean, it was fantastic, and that's just a true testament to how important it is to running the successful retreat.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you the checklist of things that you need to focus on, from maintenance issues to you know, people that you've pitched and missed and why, right? To the weather and kind of what the consequences of that were that day, and kind of gives you some historical information. Where as an operator, you can go in and flip through and see, okay, well, you know, Sarah is doing a really great job with membership conversion, but maybe Sally's not. I see that consistently. Now we can work on that. It's just right there in front of your face. And I know we have reports that we can run for those sorts of things, but it's kind of nice to just put it all right out in front of everyone.
Yes. And the thing that we found, with the fact that River Oaks hadn't been doing it, that they weren't making those phone calls, and it was funny that members were surprised when they were getting their EFT calls. What? Like, no one's ever called me for years. You're calling me now, and so it was a pleasant surprise, and then also it was just the LCs that had been there. It was a completely different process for them. They weren't used to, but they liked it because they realized that really upped our game in terms of customer service.
Absolutely. Well, you've got so many great things, and I could sit here and talk to you for another hour and a half at least. So I think that we need to have a more formal podcast sometime with you, where we've got a lot less noise and we can get some more good nuggets from you, because you've got a lot of them. So I think that we'll go ahead and end with that for today, just because of time. We've got sessions to get back into, input that we need from you on these roundtables that we're breaking out into, and I know that you want to be part of. So the next time we'll get into some of your more personal reasons for choosing Massage Heights and what your values are and those kinds of things. And I'd love to hear more about that. But
Sounds great.
Thank you for your input today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.